Hi guys, Will Terry here, and this video is going to be called Turning Pro Illustration Critiques #1. And, I was thinking, I was looking through my list of videos that I want to make, and I still have a bunch on there, but I feel like a lot of them kind of bleed into other topics that I've already covered. I'm still going to approach them, but one thing that I've kind of really, over the years of doing this YouTube channel, really kind of decided is I don't want to make a video unless I really have something to say. You don't want to watch a video unless I've got something to say. So I was thinking on my walk the other day, what could I do that people would really benefit from, that people would really be excited about? And one of the things that I get asked probably more than anything else is, can you look at my portfolio? Can you critique my web portfolio? Can you look at my work? Can you tell me? And a lot of people are saying, am I good enough? Am I going to make it? Am I on the right path? Should I give up right now? Just a lot of things like that. And I turn most of those requests down simply because I just don't have time, and I prioritize my day, and I have a lot of things going on and things that I need to get done, things I need to do, and I feel bad. But there's just no way to get to everybody. So I thought what I would start doing is a series of illustration critiques here on YouTube that would also link to svslearn.com. So these, I'm going to just tell you what I'm planning to do. This will be the first video, and then you'll see more populate. And then I'll, over the next months and stuff, I'll throw one in. I'll throw in another video doing advice. But I'm going to work these in, and I'll put them in a playlist. So when people find them later on, they can do them, and I'll just number them one till however many I go. And where I'm getting these images from is actually from our website. So I'm just going to jump in there now and show you that if you would like to get a critique, I can't promise you're going to get one. But what I did was I went into our site and I went on the forums here, and I just said, hey, do you have an image I can critique? Now, anybody can use our forums. You do not have to be subscribed. Anybody can jump in there. I will say this on this thread, there's more images in there. I'm going to try to get to 3 images tonight. So chances are I'm not going to be able to critique your image. We do have paid critiques. And you might be thinking, well, this is just a plug to get me to buy a critique from Will Terry. Unfortunately, our paid critiques usually sell out really quickly too. So we've got one that I just launched the other day, and it sold out, I think, in the first day. And so that is one of our challenges at SVS. Is I'm just going to go into this thread where people are posting their work. And one of the challenges that we have is trying to help enough people one-on-one. It's really tough, because Jake and Lee and I all decided that we were going to stay professional illustrators through this journey of online teaching, and that we weren't going to give up our freelance work. So I'm trying to balance freelance work. I teach at the university. I do this YouTube channel. I teach at svslearn.com, and I do shows and travel around the country doing trade shows and stuff. And so my schedule's packed, and then I have a family on top of that, and I've got boys that I fly model airplanes with, and maybe I'll take you guys out and we'll do that one time and include that in one of the videos. And we go for hikes, and we go biking and camping and all sorts of stuff. And I've got a wife too, and she needs attention. So I just don't have time to critique everybody's work. But what I thought I could do is, because you can learn a lot from watching someone else get critiqued. I know that a lot of times people think, well, that doesn't really pertain to me. And one of the things I find really interesting is I'll be in school giving a critique, and I see half the class or a third of the class is completely zoned out, and they're like on their phone or tablet, or they're drawing or doing something else. And maybe they're drawing it so they can listen, because I do that. But some people will, don't want to be present, or when we do them online, sometimes people are absent after they've had theirs critiqued. And I think, you're missing out on so much, because you're going to have the same problems that someone else is going to have when they're getting their work critiqued. And you could be learning, these kinds of things for the future. But a lot of people don't take it that way. So anyway, what I've said in this forum post is basically I'm going to pull images from this thread to critique for this video, for the next video, for the one after that, as long as this thread can be found. And if not, I'll make a new one, but I'll try to just use this same thread, and it'll probably get long. And so anyway, but people have posted their artwork in here, and they've given me permission. And basically, I'm going to put a link to their website if they put it in here. And I also wanted to know from them what their concept was. But read the forum post if you want to have something critiqued. And a lot of people don't want to do that, and they certainly wouldn't want to do it in public. They wouldn't want it to have it on a YouTube video. But I think that's number one. I think it's brave, and I think that's awesome, because it's one of the best ways you're going to learn. So let's see. Did I have anything else that I want to talk about? Yeah. So that's basically it. So we're going to dive in. I'm just going to critique some, and this is like what I would do in school, or this is what I would do online when we have our paid critiques. And I'm going to jump in here, and what I'm going to do is critique based on concept/story. So, is the concept or story working? Is the design working, and how is it rendered? And so sometimes you can have really good rendering, but you have a lousy story, or sometimes you have a good story and you have bad design, and so on and so forth. And the other thing is, I'm not going to hit everything. So you at home might be looking and go, why isn't he talking about this? There's a glaring thing that I see. There's a glaring tangent or something else. I find that you can really overload someone if you try to hit too many notes, And so I find that if you give somebody 2 or 3 things to work on, then I think they find that they have something clear cut to go back and do if they choose to rework the same project. Or maybe they're just happy to go, okay, great. I know what I did wrong on this piece, but moving forward, I'm going to try to avoid making that mistake again. And then lastly, I just want you guys to know that, like, art, and I know you already know this, but I'm going to say it anyway. Art is subjective, and this is my opinion, and you could get another opinion from someone else that would contradict what I'm going to say. I am just one voice, just one person out there who is going to give my 2 cents to your work. Do not let this define you. That's one of the dangers of getting a critique is sometimes people throw up their hands and go, okay, well, then I suck. I'm never going to do this again. Just remember, no matter, like, anything that you try to get good at, and you really should be trying to become world class at something, so anything that you try to get really good at is going to go through these frustrating times. So if you switch and change lanes and go, okay, instead of being a professional illustrator, I'm going to be a professional chef. Or instead of being a professional illustrator, I'm going to, who knows what, trade stocks or something. I don't know. You're going to find that there are already people way ahead of you in each one of those worlds, and you're going to be starting at the bottom. Now, that's not to say that you shouldn't change lanes, that you shouldn't, some people should change out of illustration, but don't do it for the wrong reason. Don't switch because it got frustrating or it got hard. Everything is hard. Everything is tough. Everything worthwhile in your life that you want to become good at is going to be tough. So with that, let's jump into the first one. And this one is by, I believe this one is Matt Ramsey's. Yeah. And is that right? Let's see. Yeah, Matt Ramsey. And again, you can check for the link. I think he wants me to put his Twitter. So he's saying on this one, basically, the story is this kind of has a link to a biblical story. I don't think I copied that part of the letter, though, actually. So I'm just going to go by the text that he has. Every night he had to tuck them into bed with a good story, and I think it's like how Jesus said, "Feed my sheep." So this one's got a little bit of a religious slant to it, and so anyway, but it looks like he's kind of turned this into a children's book, which is a really cool idea. So the story, when we look at this first, and I know that this, I'm wondering if like the screen is a little small. I'm going to zoom in just a little bit so we can see these guys a little bit better. It's obviously it's a father figure reading to sheep instead of kids, and I think it's a fun little twist. And so I think story wise, I think it's working. You get that the little sheep are tired and they're going to bed. I think that I get the gist of what's happening. I think really what we're dealing with here are some design problems that could be fixed, and quite simply on this one, I think overall it's a little bit too dark, and don't worry about that, because that is in general, beginning painters draw too light and paint too dark. And so if you just know that you need to kind of work on lightening up your image, even though it is a night scene, I think we need to bring more lights in there and make it a little bit brighter right around the light, And one way, to do that is you can easily just kind of brighten up this area around the light and the where the light would actually hit on different parts, So for instance, I wasn't going to do this, but let's just jump in there and do it a little bit. Like let's say you've got these oranges and stuff kind of coming through. Maybe we'll just saturate them a little bit more and really kind of just start to play off of that and say, maybe we're going to get some little bits of light coming in here. I think the moonlight is distracting right here. I wouldn't do that. I think that one of the things that you're going to be a lot more successful with is having one light source. If you can master one light source, then you can start moving on to more. But like on this guy's cheek, you could put little bits of light kind of coming down here, on his hand a little bit more. So sort of just to kind of work really fast, something like that. So you can see the difference there. And then you could introduce some of those colors into the wall as well. So some of these same greens, since you've got this green kind of going on, you could lighten up the wall, but that wall color is just so dark. And so that would be one thing that I would work on, is going that route. The other thing is when you put something that's light, and I'm talking about this bedpost right here by this, you've got this white right here of the paper, like if this is going to be printed in a children's book or something, and then you're trying to show light right here, but that light has to be darker. It's better, and that's why I say having this one light source, it's going to make it better to just have this stuff on this side fall into shadow, and then your dark things can be dark and your light things can be light. And another little thing to work on this one would be where you have your crop for your little vignette. Coming this close right here to the edge of the vignette is creating a tangent right there. So you want to give yourself some breathing room. And again, over here it's really close, so you'd want to kind of do something like that. But I think the biggest thing, so those are some little things to work on. I'm going to get rid of this layer. Would be the angle that you chose to draw it from. And I noticed that a lot of artists, when they're kind of starting out, they'll tend to draw things that are straight on view, foreshortened. Right? See my hand like this? Look down here. Look where I am. Okay, yeah. See my hand right there? Like that. That's hard to draw a hand like that or like that. And it's hard to draw a person that's like this. It's easier to draw a person 3/4 view. Like that. Do I make a good model? See? So, and same with the chair. It's really tough to get the architecture of that chair right. when it's, when a chair is coming straight at you like this, it's also boring, to draw like that. I'm not saying you're boring, but that angle makes your drawing a little bit more boring. So what you really want to do is kind of just turn everything more towards a 3/4 view, kind of like this, right? And you can have what are those, like log, I don't know how those attach to the bottom. Maybe there's a hole drilled out or something. And then you've got these big timbers, and then this timber over here is going to be bigger than this one back here. Maybe these are boards that are glued together or something. And then you're going to have your thing, and then that allows you to show dimension on that thing. So you've got, there's my crappy drawn chair right there, and then we'll have another leg back here. Maybe there's another. I don't know how those chairs are. Maybe there's something like that. Yeah. So you want to draw it like that, and then you want your guy who's sitting there in the chair to be 3/4 as well, reading. And then that's more natural because now he's going to be facing the bed. You could have the bed. It's kind of fun to see the bed like this. It gives each character, the same kind of billing. So one's not, if you turn the bed kind of 3/4, now this character's bigger, smaller, and smallest going across the bed, right? As they're tucked in. But so I think that the bed could work straight on, but I think that you want to turn that father figure towards the bed. And then the nice thing about that is now the book, see how the book lines up right with the seam of his shirt? That's not good. It creates another awkward tangent. It's like, that goes right down through the crotch area. It's just a better design is to have, his torso out here, have the book kind of like this. He's reading the book this sideways or 3/4 view. It's just going to work out better, and it's going to, you can have one. The feet are going to be it because we duck our feet out a little bit. You'll have one foot kind of out here like this, and the other one goes more profile, and so it gives variety. And anyway, that's a horrible drawing. Okay, so that would be what I would do there, and then one last thing is the room itself is, I'm bumping my mic here. It's hard when you show a room with a wall, and so like let's say this is your image area right here, right? And then you just show a wall, so you have floor and wall, right? And then your floor is coming straight down, and so that actually throws the whole perspective of the room off. You can do it like this. The right way would be to, all these lines. If you have a wooden floor in your house or apartment or wherever you live or someone else's, get down closer to the floor and look at how the lines converge. They all kind of come to the point. Like if you're laying down right here looking straight ahead, and your feet are kind of coming out like this and you're looking, that's what you're going to see. But what would work better than that, I think, would be I think it's always helpful to show a corner in a room, even if you just show a little bit of a wall. So you'd have Dad sitting on the chair, maybe in the corner, and then maybe have the bed out here. With your 3 little things in there. And then you get this plane change. One wall can be darker than the other, one can be lighter, and then that just that alone with your floor makes it more interesting. You can have part of a picture or a mirror or something on the wall. It just looks more natural. So that's what I would do. Okay, we're going to move on to the next one. And what's our time? These are going to run a little bit long. So this one is, I was looking at this a little bit earlier. This is Sarah Luan Perkins. And she was actually in one of my classes that I taught at BYU years ago. And she has been working really hard. And I've always enjoyed seeing her comments both on Facebook and in the forums, and also seeing her work. And she's got this unique style. One thing that I would say about hers is right away you see a professionalism to the style of the art. You know, it looks very accomplished, and so good job, Sarah, on that for sure. Let me see if I can read hers. Where is hers? Oh, there it is right here. Okay. She says her initial concept was just, wouldn't riding a giant tortoise be awesome? And then she says, but there's a number of directions she could have taken it. She could have had the guy on him looking incredibly bored or impatient and have other types of creatures streaking past. I think the concept wanted to go for here beyond the initial cool giant tortoise transporting thing was sort of joy in the journey, cliche as that sounds. So I like that, joy in the journey, and that's kind of what I got from it. And I thought this looks like a portfolio piece. But one of the things I like about it too is it shows period, and it shows a range of characters as far as like child, and it shows an animal, child, adult, that kind of thing. And then it, so it's just fun. I think it really demonstrates that you can show, that you can do architecture. And so again, in our last Third Thursday that we did, it was on what to put in your portfolio. And if you want to see that, we've got it on our website under courses. But anyway, let's jump into this one. So this is it's a great start because she's got this accomplished style. I looked at a few things and I thought there's just a few things that I would change on here. One was I was a little puzzled about the tail coming in right here. It's about the same value and almost the same. It's not the same color, but it's so subtle in value that, sorry, my allergies are starting to come on. It's like it wants to be springtime out here. And there's just so little of it, and because there's not another creature, like if you had a lizard walking back here, then maybe having another, it looks sort of like a lizard tail, having a kind of a lizard tail, but I think you'd want to, if you did that, you'd want to bring it in, further, so and make it something about it a little more predominant, so that we could, or prominent, so that we could see what's going on there and understand that there's other animals. I think right now it's so subtle that when you see it, it becomes more of a distraction. So that's number one thing that I would do. Number two is your viewers are always going to go to your characters. And I look at your characters and I think they're great. I mean, like these little silhouettes in the back are great. This woman is great. This guy is great. It's very convincing. But the kid looks like an old man. And I hope that doesn't sound offensive at all, but it's just his proportions. And Sarah, you're accomplished enough that you can handle this. You can easily fix that. His hands, and I know that he's small, but it's funny, like, and because I go on hikes a lot, and I'll see people way down the trail, and I'll ask myself, is that person, how old are they and what gender are they? And because sometimes all you get is this tiny little silhouette, and I'm amazed at how often I can tell who I'm looking at. When I get closer, I'm like, yep, I was right. And sometimes I'm fooled, but it's amazing. And so what you have is, your hand is too big on the boy right there. Remember, like a one way to judge is basically if you put the heel of your hand on your chin, if you're an adult, your fingers should almost cover your whole entire face, right? But if you're a kid, it's like you only go to about the nose. So their hands are really small. And this guy's hand right here is really big, and that's kind of a dead giveaway. And another, probably the bigger thing, is just the body proportions. I think if he's holding his mom's hand, I'm thinking he's a really little kid, 3, 4, 5. And so I just think your proportions need to be exaggerated just a little bit more, with a bigger head. And you can, when you're doing illustration, you always want to exaggerate. And I'm probably going too far with that for your style, but somewhere in between what you did and what I just did is probably going to be sufficient, or probably going to work out for you. And then the last thing, I think it's the last thing on here, is the way that the tortoise is drawn. I felt like the feet were wrong, and I thought, well, but I don't know what a tortoise looks like. So I went out and got a tortoise, because this is what I do when I don't know how to draw something. I go and look. Now you might have had different reference that looked like what you have, and I know that their toes definitely turn in, but I feel like the legs felt too long when I looked at them, and also what am I trying to do? They felt like they were turning in a little bit too much. So I'm just going to lighten your image down a little bit so I can draw over top of what I would probably do on this. And I think that the legs just feel so long. And I'm looking at this other one. I feel like if you, I'm on the wrong layer again. Do you guys ever do that? Wrong layer. I could have a really cool nickname from that. I feel like there's all this skin right here, and then we kind of come down to this, and I would accentuate more of a blocky kind of a, I don't know, what do you call it, like a, like a stubby foot, not without as much toes. I think I like your neck. They have these long necks. I think the head is drawn great. But then where I see this leg kind of coming in right here, I feel like it needs to come from somewhere, and I feel like it would work out better as if you just kind of brought it down to maybe a step that's coming out, like he's taking a step somehow, and then we see these toes turned in, kind of almost more. You know what I'm thinking? More like an elephant. It's what their feet remind me of a little bit more, but definitely not elephant. And if you want to go more claw, go more claw. They definitely have claws sticking out, But I just feel like there's somewhere where it's going to feel, because where his are, where you have them, it doesn't really feel like he's walking with both feet planted on the ground. I feel like one needs to be kind of up a little bit. But again, reptiles sometimes are hard to draw. And you did a really good job. So that's all I have for this one. This one is really nice things. And the one thing that I wanted to say to you, Sarah, is that I also wonder, and this is just something that I pontificate about a little bit, is your style is with the kind of the woodcut style. It's really it's really niche oriented, right? Which can be really good or it can be bad. Like, and that's where I want to question is, like, if someone's looking for old world and an old feel to an illustration, you're going to be in the running. But if they're not, then you're completely out. And I that's true for almost every style. So I don't know. That would be a question that I think you should ask editors is, be honest with me. Like, don't sugarcoat anything. Tell me, like, do you see people using this style, or do you see it being limiting? Like, is it going to help me get work, or is it going to be limiting? Because that's a question that I myself as someone who's not an art buyer. I don't really know the answer to that, but that would be interesting. And if you do, I'd love to know the answer that you get from editors or art directors and people like that. Okay. And lastly, I want to look at Eric Castleman's image, which I just love this one. He says, it doesn't have a website, but feel free to link to my Instagram. But I don't have your Instagram, Eric. You're going to have to email me that so I can put a link in there. The concept behind the first image is little boy who wants to teach his pet dinosaur how to read. Okay, so when I looked at this, and one of the reasons why I picked this one, and also I didn't speak to that. What I'm actually looking for when I go through when I'm going to go through the thread on our forums to pick images for future videos, I'm looking to teach specific concepts, images that I feel like I can really help with something. Some are harder, or some might be things that I've talked about before. Some illustrations might not be developed enough. That's another thing. Please read the description, because I don't want just character designs. I want to critique full illustrations. Anyway, on this one, some really nice things happening. I'm going to zoom in so we can just see a little bit more here. You've got some really nice textures. The color is working, this repetitive palette, and a really nice complementary palette that just repeats over and over. And so color-wise, it's working really nice. Design-wise, it's working really nice too. There's just a few little drawing things, and mostly for me, the problem with this one is story. So I'm going to jump in and just say something pretty quick, because there's really only a couple things. There's like nothing that I would change in the lower half. I think that's great. And in the upper half, one thing I noticed, like with your window, and these are really important things to do, is your window kind of goes back and forth between 3D and 2D. And I know it's really thin and the panes, but there's places where, like right, let's see, what color do I want? I need a color that will stand out here. So like right here, it gets flat because it's not turning a corner, right? This is something little and nitpicky, you might think, but it matters. We need to see the window like that, and then we need to see thickness on that window, right? So this is going to continue down, and then you're going to have these slats, right? Kind of like that, and then there's dimension within those, right? And I think that's what's missing on yours. I'm over exaggerating it, making it much thicker so we can see that. Yours don't have to be that thick, but I think that was just something that kind of stood out, because everything else really turns. Oh, there was one thing down here with your perspective where it kind of changes. You've got and I'm not sure if you're drawing through, but that's a concept that if you're not doing this, guys, you need to do it. You need to finish these books out right here, right? You don't have to finish all the detail and put all the pages in and the little ribbon. You don't have to do that, but you need to know, because when you get over here, all of a sudden this one's not working out. So that one right there, that book needs to be more like that. And then these others, it's like, especially at the bottom, you've got them stacked up so nice, and then it's like there's just they're standing on a pile, and that doesn't really work for me. Maybe these bottom ones need to just be bigger right here. Maybe this one just kind of crops out really big because it's close to us, and then maybe you have maybe there's another book or something that's open where someone got it out and it's sitting over here, something like that. And then these right here are out of perspective too, because really if we're seeing on top of the table, we should be able to see on top of this book. So if you're going to make a pile of books, make a pile of books, but you kind of have to give a reason why they're skiwampus. Like if you have one going down, it needs to, like if you want one going down, let's get some white, like this, right? Then you need to put that on top of another book or two that's kind of coming out from that, right? So something like that. And then you can show these other ones kind of underneath of there, propping them up, and then it'll look like more like a pile. Those little details matter. Okay, now on to the important thing, and that is with your story. I feel like if he's teaching in a story you have your moment of action, right? Your slice of time, and in the process of teaching a dinosaur to read, the story could be panel 1. The dinosaur looks in the window. Panel 2, and panel 1, you see the little boy just kind of sitting there. The thing that looks a little weird to me is like, why is this little boy just sitting up there, in the story and kind of looking down at the books? It's like there's a freaking dinosaur that just burst through the window, and the boy's like, yeah, whatever, man. Like dinosaurs burst through the window all the time. You got to be thinking about the story, and it has to totally make sense like you have to become that little boy, and you have to become that dinosaur in order to pull this off. And you have to figure out how to put yourself in that situation. So, the little boy climbs up. What did he climb up for? Maybe there's a paper airplane up there. So maybe he went up to go get his paper airplane, and then this dinosaur bursts in. And in this story of teaching the dinosaur to read, the dinosaur is like, well, I've always wanted to read, but no one would ever teach me or something. I don't know why he's teaching a dinosaur to read, but that's beside the point. The story could be fine that you're trying to teach a dinosaur to read, and that could be the whole story right there. But you have to show that if that's the whole story, if that's the moment, the critical moment of action is teaching the dinosaur, I think the little boy needs to actually be teaching the dinosaur to read. So what I would do is I would move the boy over more, and I'd probably put this window back, and I'd probably put this little boy in front of the window right here. And then I'd probably kind of just move him over like this. And then I think I'd have, now this is a critical area, having this window right here. It might not work, and it might work better to have a window without those panes. It might be better to have like the window that slides up, and so the dinosaur is kind of coming in, and maybe the window panes are up here, and then this is the window that slid up. We don't have this right here. This is that a French window or something? I don't know what it's called. But regardless, let's move on with this. And then I would have him taking that book and turning the book towards the dinosaur to show him, to teach him, right, how to read. And I'd have him maybe looking up like, you stupid dinosaur, you should already know how to read, but I'm a nice kid. You're not really that stupid of a dinosaur, and I'm going to teach you how to read. So he's showing it over there, right? Now, the dinosaur, right now, he's burst in, but he's not really engaged with the kid, right? So I think I would let's see. Let's look at the drawing first. We can work on that. If you're going to keep this pose right here, it feels to me like you've got this bump over here for a nostril, but there's no nostril on this side, right? And then eye line, if you've got an eye here, you would have a bump or something for the eye on that side, maybe, right? And I like this little cheek smile because that shows I'm not dangerous. I've had a lot of, if you're going for a children's book or if you're going for the children's textbook market, they want you to round out teeth. So a lot of times they won't let you keep those sharp teeth. So be prepared for that. Round things, or that right there can't hurt you. That can. And so, in children's books, primarily you want to round things off. You might even have fun giving him something else. But he's still kind of like back. I'm wondering, what if he kind of came in from outside, and I don't know, maybe the neck disappears. I don't know how to, I'd have to really play with it. But now let's see. Maybe he does kind of come in, and then the neck kind of comes around somehow. And then you have him really kind of looking down and still smiling, still teeth and all. But maybe he's trying to get, down here, trying to get his eye down into that book there, And that might not be the best position. You might have to turn his head a little bit more so that you show it with the eyeball, but that you can still see, because you want to see that cheek. You don't want him to be like, hey, you want to learn how to read? No, I want to eat you. So you don't want that, right? Now, this is more of a fun gesture, so I don't really like having just that little bit of him showing. I like yours better there. So maybe he's just bigger dinosaur, and maybe he's kind of coming in like this. Oops, I want that eye higher. Like that. And to me, that would show more teaching a dinosaur how to read is actually doing it. Right here, this kid, it's also really hard when you use just dots for eyes. It can work, but it's harder to when you can show, like, watch what happens when I put the eyeball on there. Now he's looking over there, right? And if I put the eyeball here, he's looking that way, right? So without an eyeball, and you don't have to have much. You don't have to have as much as I like. Have these huge. My kids and my characters have big eyeballs, but I like to be able to show. I'm not saying that this doesn't work, because it does, and I've seen a lot of people pull it off and do it successfully. But you have to make it up. Instead of gesturing with your eyes, you have to really show and sell the gesture with your body position and gesture. There we go. That's it. So thank you guys for letting me use your artwork. I really appreciate it, and this was fun. I'm going to do this more. So check back and see. And hopefully you can't hear my boys being too loud outside the window there, because I don't know what they're doing. They got friends over. And check us out at SVS. We have a lot of classes, and I will be announcing another paid critique for the Draw 50 things for May. So the critiques that I announced are for April, and this is 2017. If you're coming to this video late, but I will be announcing some more pretty soon on the website. We always announce our classes first in our forums, because we feel like the people that are in the forums are actively engaged, and it would be more fair to announce there, and then we put it out on social media. So if you want to get first crack, be a forum user. And that's it. That's the end of the video. Thanks for watching, and I will... make great art.